Hey, longtime listeners, this is Shades here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about our sponsor this week. It's you, our longtime listeners. We are funded through our Patreon, patreon.com/shadesansketch, and without you, our patrons, we can't keep this show on the air. Sketch and I want to keep doing it. We want to keep our back catalog available to you, and we want to do that without filling the show with things that you don't care about and we don't believe in. So, to keep your favorite show ad-free on the air, our whole back catalog, no paywall, head on over to www.patreon.com/shadesansketch. You can support the show for as little as $1. We want to thank all of our patrons that we have so much right now, and all of you, the longtime listeners. Here's this week's episode. Hey, longtime listeners, this is Shades here, coming to you between our season breaks. If you listened to our last episode, Treasure Planet, which I know you did, we are ending season 1 and are about to start season 2. So until we come back in February, we're going to be bringing you some classic episodes from season 1. This week, we've got episode number 6 from back in our grunge days, The Rocketeer. Guys, I love this movie. You know, it might be my favorite of all time. I know that's a bold statement, but I really enjoy it. And I've enjoyed going back down the rabbit hole and listening to this episode. So without further ado, here it is, episode 6, The Rocketeer.
Oh, hello. I'm Sketch.
I'm Shades.
This is Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch.
Yes.
Every week we bring our GoCo, our Geeking Out command outpost, to a different location. And Shades, you are chomping on the bit.
I really am.
Where are we this week?
We are traveling time once again, broadcasting from 1938. Sketch.
Our first in the past.
Yes.
Episode.
The not so distant past.
Sure.
You want to tell everybody where we are?
We are in a giant smoldering clamshell in the South Seas.
The South Seas Club.
The South Seas Club in LA.
In LA.
Pandemonium erupted here not too long ago, but
yes,
everyone has evacuated. Now it's just us.
A flying man in a bronzed helmet.
And mobsters.
And mobsters galore.
And
a large
monster.
A large King Kong gentleman.
Yeah.
That means we must be talking about the 1991 epic Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer. Do we have a theme song?
We do.
We do have a theme song this week? We are so professional. Rocket Man. Right? This is the Elton John?
No.
This is not an Elton John biopic?
This is not an Elton John biopic.
That changes everything I think about this movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh, geez. All right, so before we get into this movie, we have to say we are probably going to spoil...
Yes. Spoilers galore.
Spoilers galore to the 1991... By the way, this movie is older than my brother.
Really, guys and gals, longtime listeners, what have you been waiting for?
1991. Let's quickly do the math. How long has this been out?
26 years.
Wow.
Yes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, 26 years.
Holds up.
It's as old as my Firebird.
It holds up nicely.
Yeah.
Your Firebird's a 91?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Shades drives that Firebird.
I drive a 1991 Firebird.
Yeah. Is this episode brought to you by the 1991?
This episode brought to you by the 1991 Pontiac Firebird.
It's a beaut.
Thank you.
All right, back to another
the
Firebird.
Rocketeer. Yeah.
Oh, what a segue. Another Firebird.
Well done.
The Rocketeer, a Disney movie.
It is, and there's a story there, but it is branded with the Disney logo, and it is a Disney movie.
Now, Shades, what is your history with
oh my goodness.
The Rocketeer, the Elton John biopic?
Please stop saying that.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. I'm thinking about a different movie.
Yes.
Okay.
I love this movie.
You do.
And when I suggested it and you said, sure, I was so excited.
Yeah.
I went and dug it out because it was not out on an accessible place, but I went and dug it out. So
oh, really?
Yeah.
I figured this was like on your mantle.
I have a streaming version.
Oh,
that it's just convenient now.
That's nice because then you don't have to burn out anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice little.
There's going to be a lot
fire
of fire
reference.
puns in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I saw it in theaters in 1991
How old were you in
at the
1991?
General Cinemas at the Warwick Mall in Rhode Island. 1991. Man, I can't tell you how old I was, but I can tell you I was in first grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
And
I would have also been in
my
first grade.
Gram.
All right, because
Yeah,
we're in the same. Yeah, that makes
same
sense.
graduate.
'cause
I'm a
we've
year
gone to
older than
school
you, but
together.
we're in the same
Yeah.
same grade. Yeah. I was born in the middle of the year, everybody. I didn't stay back.
If you think Shade stayed back,
right into the show.
Right into the
Go
show.
with shadesansketch@gmail.com. My gram brought me to the theater, and it was the premiere day, and there was a guy in a Rocketeer costume who gave me a Rocketeer pin. I was obsessed with this movie. I clamored for everything I could possibly get. I have the VHS original release that I burned out and got a second copy of. I have it on DVD and Blu-ray and a streaming copy.
When you say that you were obsessed with this movie, I mean, this is going way back. I mean, as a first grader, going into this movie,
so
did
this
you know
was
about
probably
Rocketeer?
one of the. I didn't know about the comic, which came out in 1982.
But you probably saw the commercials on TV.
I saw the commercials on TV. This was one of the first movies I saw in theaters, and it was the first time, if you know what I'm talking about, that I had that wow moment in a theater. And I wrote this down in my notes when I was rewatching it. The tagline of Superman is always that he'll make you believe a man can fly.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was Rocketeer.
Wow.
There was always something like, well, how does Superman fly? What does he get propulsion off of? How does Superman fly? I guess he levitates. But
it's another episode.
Yeah. So we'll save that for the Batman versus Superman episode.
Sure. Yeah, we could tackle that in the BVS.
But Rocketeer
has a rocket.
He has a rocket on his back. It's plausible. The device generates thrust. And
is it plausible?
It's plausible.
Okay.
I mean, there are some problems with it.
We'll get to that.
I'd save that for the rants. But it was the first time I had that wow moment, and it made me believe that a human being could fly.
Absolutely.
And just the iconic suit, the helmet, the jacket, the stylization of the 1930s. I was obsessed with this movie.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about is I have the preview poster that hung in theaters.
That's beautiful.
Art Deco, stylized Rocketeer poster that
Mm-hmm.
says summer 1991 on it.
Yeah.
And it hung in my study for years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have space for it to have it up right now.
Oh, you gotta
make space.
You gotta make space for that.
I have a project coming up where I think it will fit nicely.
Good.
What was your experience with this?
My experience goes back all the way to last night where we watched the movie.
Other than seeing my poster.
Other than seeing your poster. And I knew you loved it. And because I knew you loved it, I knew I'd hate it because we have such dissimilar tastes. For whatever reason, I mean, I missed this one. I mean, 91 first grade, I really didn't have a whole lot of say in what movies I was seeing as a first grader. No one took me to this one. And so it kind of came and went without my knowledge. The only reason I knew about it was because of your poster, which is a beautiful poster.
Thank you.
But I will say going into this, I had a completely different idea of what
the Rocketeer was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was almost going to be kind of like a superhero-esque movie set in like a steampunk.
Like a world of tomorrow, but it's the world of the past.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Sky Commander in the world of tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 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 Very similar to that kind of thing. With, Zeppelins, which there is a Zeppelin.
There is a Zeppelin. Spoiler alert.
But kind of, that.
Whoa, spoiler alerts.
We gave the spoiler
we
warning.
Did.
Just kind of that motif of, I mean, the best way I can describe it is steampunk, kind of the
and he does have a little bit of a steampunk look to him.
He does himself,
right? Nothing else,
but nothing else in the universe did. And so last night was my first experience with the Rocketeer, and I'm happy I saw it. I enjoyed it. And should we explain a little bit about the Rocketeer to people who maybe are like me and haven't seen it, don't have a Shades cramming it down their throats?
So the Rocketeer was created by Dave Stevens in 1982. It was a split issue with another comic, Independent Comics. And it was really inspired by the Commander Cody serials. Commando Cody of the 1930s.
Yeah, we were going to get emails if you got that.
I'm sure we were. Somebody was looking at that. And he immediately realized, Dave Stevens, the creator, immediately realized that this movie fit a movie genre. It was begging for it, very more so than anything else that was out at the time, and immediately sold the movie rights.
To who? I didn't even see. Oh, no, it was Disney. Is that who he sold
did not sell them to Disney originally. He sold them to a production company. The name escapes me at the moment. I could go back and look that up right into the show if you're curious about it, and I'll find it for you, or I'm sure you could find it yourself. A little Googling on the internet.
Our longtime listeners are pretty tech savvy.
Yeah, they are. It sat in development hell until 1986. The rights reverted back to him when he sold the rights again to a second production duo who were attached to Disney, but the movie was taking shape under the Touchstone Pictures label. Remember Touchstone?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember their logo.
Yep. And it sat in development hell for another 5 years, or I guess 4 years, 1990, until director Joe Johnston came on board, and then it really started moving along. And he was able to produce dailies and test footage that was suitable to Disney. So suitable, in fact, that they took it away from the Touchstone label and just branded it Walt Disney Pictures. They had planned to do a trilogy of movies around the Rocketeer.
Ooh, okay.
But the movie wound up costing $40.1 million to produce, and it only grossed $46.5 million. So
really?
that pretty much guarantees that it would not get a sequel in 1991.
Right. Do you know what it was up against in 91?
1991?
What are some other movies?
Yes. So it was up against...
it's okay if you don't know what else was that.
I saw it last night. I escaped it. I escaped it.
It escaped you.
It escaped me.
Yeah.
In this moment, but I did look it up last night. It was up against some major blockbusters in the summer of 1991. They escaped me at the moment. I want to say Ninja Turtles 2, perhaps.
Maybe.
So it was up against franchises. They're escaping me right now. I know it wasn't Batman.
Established names, and this was
trying
to make a name.
The Rocketeer really came along conceptually before making a big budget superhero movie was deemed profitable. So Disney bought the rights in 86. So it's predating the Keaton Batman movies. It's predating the Spider-Man franchise. It's predating the Shadow and the Phantom, similar pulp era inspired heroes, even though the Rocketeer comes much later. He's kind of set in that 1930s universe that the Shadow and the Phantom are. So it was a big risk for Disney to take a chance on. But what really helps this movie is that the practical effects and all the special effects work were done by ILM.
Oh, really?
Yes. And Lucas was still helming ILM at the time. So George Lucas had a hand in what the effects would look like. And Joe Johnston was one of the puppeteer modelers at ILM before embarking on his directing career. So he had the ability to take the big guns, every resource that ILM had available to them, and put them into the Rocketeer, to the tune of, I never knew this, all of the flying scenes where Cliff is flying horizontally, that is a scaled puppet.
No.
Shot in stop motion. And
is it really?
And then on a blue screen, and then inserted into the footage in the movie.
Where'd you find that information?
I read it on a history of it this morning.
Oh, wow! I'm shocked
that my mind is blown by that, because it does not look like stop motion. Certainly, the green screening and blue screening work doesn't hold up to 21st century standards. They look great for 1991.
Oh yeah, it didn't bother me,
but it doesn't look like a scaled puppet.
You could tell it was blue screened or green screened,
right?
But appropriately so for 1991, not like
the
cheap
effects work is not a problem in this movie.
The movie itself looked great.
Yeah,
more than just the effects, the movie aesthetics in general.
Yeah,
looked great. Can I ask, have you read the comic?
I have. It's one of my prized possessions. It's not worth very much, but I have the whole original run.
Is
issue 1 through issue 4.
Very true to the comic?
They take
a lot of liberties.
They take a lot of liberties, but I feel like they improved upon the story of the Rocketeer because it's less of a pulp kind of one-off adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a contained movie, but it takes away the campiness, I think, that existed in the comic.
Okay.
I think the story here is much better. So the Rocketeer focuses its lens on the life of Cliff Secord, who is a racing pilot who's down on his luck in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the movie, he and his team suffer a setback. It looks like their chances of flying in the Nationals are dashed, and they really don't know what they're going to do. It starts on a pretty harsh note.
That was tough.
It was to watch, right?
That was a beautiful plane.
It really was, the GB.
And
all of the planes in this movie, we should say, are restored in 1991, 70-year-old racing planes.
They're gorgeous.
They're just giant engines with a compartment for the pilot to sit behind and fly.
Yeah.
You get a giant engine, you put some wings on it, stick a rudder in there, hollow out a compartment for a pilot, and you go.
Yeah, they're sky motorcycles.
Yes, they really are.
Yeah. But they were
gorgeous. Beautiful.
I mean,
all of the planes.
It was like going to an antique car show, but for planes.
The GB is the only reproduction, and they destroy it at the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, I would hope.
It was not an original, but the GB2 is an actual plane.
Good. Oh, they were beautiful. That's one of my big raves. I mean, we could talk about that more later.
Through a series of events involving the FBI and mobsters, Cliff and his...
Yeah, I did not know that this was going to be have mobsters in it.
Yeah.
This movie, and I'm happy that they were in it.
They were fun.
Yeah,
they were fun, and they are as campy and wonderful as you might imagine.
They are stereotypical mobsters.
Yeah. Cliff and his older kind of mentor, Arthur Peabody, they call him PV, come into possession of a jetpack that in the movie verse is designed by Howard Hughes.
Oh, that's not from the comic?
That is not from the comic.
Okay.
Howard Hughes is not in the comic.
Okay.
I love the inclusion of Howard Hughes.
Sure, yeah.
And who plays him?
Oh, long-term listeners know I don't know actors.
He was on Lost. I'm blanking on his name.
I never saw Lost.
Oh, I didn't really see Lost either.
But what I was going to say is by including Howard Hughes, it certainly added a level of believability to this rocket pack being able to perform and do what it was. It wasn't just two guys in a work shed at their derelict airstrip made it. Like this had some real R&D behind it.
Yes, and they include the schematic work, which I think is brilliant. Terry O'Quinn plays Howard Hughes. And the cast is just unbelievable. Jennifer Connelly from
Love Interest.
Labyrinth.
And Spider-Man
Homecoming. The voice of Karen. Billy Campbell, the Rocketeer. This is his first movie. Timothy Dalton as the
actor.
The Hollywood actor.
Yeah, this takes place
Neville
in Hollywood.
Sinclair,
which
Alan Arkin plays Peavy. Just a wonderful cut. John Polito, who's a great character actor, plays Bigelow, the airfield, kind of the shady,
the
sleazy airfield owner who rents them their space. An amazing cast. They find this rocket designed by Howard Hughes.
Shades is glowing, by the way, talking about this. This is like his child that he's...
Yeah, it's such a wonderful story. And they think they can make some money with this and maybe get their plane back on the air. But very quickly, we learn everything we need to know about the characters in this world, because instead of using it for self-gain, they use it to save the life of a pilot in distress.
A friend,
yeah. And that kind of sets up the series of events for this movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we'll get into the twists and turns as we talk more about it.
I mean, we can talk about
rants and raves.
The main conflict of this movie is that they have this rocket.
Yes.
Howard Hughes has the feds out looking for it because they don't want it to fall into the wrong hands.
Right.
And on the flip side, this story takes place in LA.
Yes.
In Hollywood. Cliff's love interest, what's her name in the movie? Jenny.
In the comics, she was based on Betty Page, and she was a nude model.
Oh.
I like how they made her like a struggling...
She was a struggling actress trying to break
into legitimate film pictures. I liked what they did with the character.
Screen, yeah. And so the big conflict is that the third most... What is it?
Third best-selling box office star in America.
In the world
Neville Sinclair
wants this rocket pack. We don't know why at the beginning. Doesn't matter why.
We really don't.
He just wants it. So he has enlisted, just like Howard Hughes has enlisted the feds.
He's
enlisted
the Valentine gang.
Yes, the mobsters.
Eddie Valentine.
Bunch of mobsters.
I love Eddie Valentine.
And then the movie
played by Paul Sorvino.
Oh, great Paul.
Fantastic. He's another great character actor.
But and then the movie just kind of follows the adventure of
Cliff and Peavy and
saving people, although he doesn't save many people.
He doesn't. Well, I think we shouldn't. This is a good time to say the timeline of this movie is maybe 50 hours. Let's say they find the rocket on a long weekend. Thursday morning, and the events of the film wrap up maybe late morning on Saturday.
Longtime listeners know that Shades has a real thing for timelines.
I do.
And a nice short timeline like this, you can't really mess it up.
You can't. I think it's brilliant.
It takes place in a small window of time and in a small area as well. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, we're looking at the orange fields of southern Los Angeles.
Yeah, this isn't like go to location in this. This is kind of a nice.
I don't know my California geography, but it's somewhere they wind up. The climax of the movie takes place on the Hollywood hillside near the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, I mean it's all LA.
Yep.
I mean it's all just around LA.
So if longtime listeners, if you know your California geography,
now you know where it takes place.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into raves and rants and scores, or is there anything else about the movie you want to talk about that you think needs to be said before our rants and raves? Because I think more is going to come out as
I think more is going to come out. We can get right into our score.
Sure.
Should we start with how critics score this?
Sure. Yeah.
86% by Google reviews.
Okay. That's
6.0 by IMDb, which I feel like is a little low. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a B.
Okay.
Roger Ebert. He was pretty notorious for rating movies. He gave it a 3 out of 4.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's fantastic. I feel
from
like
Ebert,
from Ebert.
What do you give it, Shades?
I give this movie a solid. I give it a 95, but I have to deduct points. And I'm sure some of that is nostalgia, but I do have to deduct points. I'll talk about it in rants, what that is, but I have to deduct 5 points and give it a 90.
That's still pretty high.
Oh, I love this movie. I think it is the perfect example of a superhero science fiction genre in which we don't need this behemoth of a movie that's drawn out angst with the origin, with the conflict, with the love interest. Everything's very quick.
It's not
it does its job.
Big. It's not bloated.
It's not a bloated movie. No. And I've always, I've heard people say it. I've always felt it as a performer. Less is more. Leave people wanting more.
Yeah.
I want more Rocketeer at the end of this movie. And maybe we'll get it. Apparently there's a sequel in the works for 2018.
I would gladly see the sequel with you.
Yeah. What do you give it for a score?
I mean, I don't have the nostalgia factor that you do because I just saw it last night. So I'm seeing this fresh in a very different world than you originally saw it in. But I still thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was very good, and it had little I could fault on it. So I give it an 85 rave and a just a 15 rant. But my rants on it are they're not very substantial.
Should we switch it up and start with rants?
Sure. You want to start with rants?
Sure.
What's your well, what's your
first rant?
If I start with a rant,
yep.
It's gonna be a big spoiler.
That's okay. We gave our spoiler at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
So we've already established that kind of our main villain.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Neville Sinclair. The third biggest box office star in America.
He's an actor. He's a real schmoozy.
It's very schmaltzy.
What do they call this age of Hollywood? Is this the golden age of Hollywood?
This is, yeah. I mean, This is 1938. This is, right in the pocket for that.
He's a stereotypical, what you'd imagine a movie star
He's
in
kind of
Golden
like
Age
a
Hollywood.
Cary Grant mixed with the Clark Gable kind of character.
Sure. I don't get that, but sure. I don't know actors. He is he's a lady killer. All the women around him are swooning over him.
Yes.
He's he's king of the hill on the set. He is he's like royalty. Yeah. I mean, he's like Hollywood royalty,
He's not like, he is.
He's Hollywood royalty.
They put an actor in here playing. It's not actually the person who was dead when the movie was made, but they make it a point to put W.C. Fields in the movie.
Yes.
That he's like very chummy with W.C. Fields.
I knew that reference.
And they make it a point to show like W.C. Fields is trying to like buddy up to and impress Dennis Sinclair.
Yeah. My rant is not Sinclair.
Okay.
I like Sinclair.
Yep.
And I'll talk more about him in Raves.
Okay.
We're going backwards. Yep. What I didn't care for as much was the big reveal.
Yes.
That he is a Nazi.
Surprise!
He's a surprise Nazi. And
surprise secret Nazi.
This is one where I wasn't expecting that reveal.
Mm-hmm.
This reveal was more of a roller coaster
right?
for me. Yeah, because at the beginning of the movie, I thought maybe Nazis would be involved in this
because of the Zeppelin in the newsreel.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, they go see a movie, and that's
the newsreel is that the Zeppelin's on a goodwill tour.
Exactly. And did Howard Hughes ever mention that if the enemies ever got hold of this? I don't know if he mentioned it explicitly, but it gave me the feeling that he was talking.
Because the feds are looking at one point. They pull a switcheroo, and this is one of my raves, so I'll save it.
So at first I thought
that this, because of the diligence of the FBI, this particular vacuum cleaner will not fall into the hands of the enemy.
Yes, exactly.
I love that line.
Yeah, you really delivered that perfectly.
Thank you.
I at first in the movie thought it was going to be Nazis.
Yep.
Just because of the time frame of the movie. Then when Sinclair was introduced as our villain, as our protagonist, then I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. It's not Nazis. It's this big time actor.
The old Nazi, not a Nazi switcheroo.
But then he's a Nazi.
He is a Nazi.
And even then, I was still okay with it.
I feel like they were trying to tap into what was happening with, what came out in 1991?
Indiana Jones?
Last Crusade.
Yeah.
It was up against Last Crusade.
Yeah. I mean, if you need a villain for any movie, Nazi is your go-to villain.
I think they were probably trying to tap into that.
Yeah. But I was even okay with him being a Nazi spy, because then it was like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty neat. The Nazis have infiltrated America through Hollywood. That's kind of neat. I'll go along with it.
Always a criticism, particularly in the 1950s with McCarthyism, that the communists had invaded Hollywood. So I thought that was a nice little twist. That the 1930s, maybe the Nazis had.
I'm still on board at this point.
Yep.
But then in the big final climactic scene, they're at the observatory, as you already said. The Nazi Sinclair has the mob.
Yeah.
And he's got Cliff trapped. He's going to take the rocket. Cliff turns the mob against him. I love that. That's a rave. I'll get to that with a rave. Turns the mob against him. And then basically he whistles or calls out in German. And an whole
entire garrison of Waffen
Nazis comes out of
the trees.
Out of the trees. And
this is a rant for you?
This is a rant for me.
I love this. This is a rant for me.
How on earth did...
Wow.
What? Yeah.
How on earth did a garrison of SS soldiers
in full military garb and weaponry, not MP5s. Just civilians that are like, surprise, I've been a Nazi all along, but a whole platoon of Nazis.
They're not sleeper agents. They're just a platoon of soldiers.
A giant ass blimp.
Well, I think they were on the Zeppelin. It wasn't a goodwill tour was the thing.
Oh, you think that was the Zeppelin?
Yes. They were on the Zeppelin.
Oh, I did not get that.
Because it's not the Hindenburg.
No, it's not the Hindenburg.
They call it the Lindenberg instead of the Hindenburg.
Yeah, but they had the giant swastika.
I know. That's what I mean. I don't think it was a goodwill tour. I think they were on the Zeppelin.
Okay.
Because there was when later, spoilers, when in the climax of the movie, when it goes down.
Spoilers. The Nazis are beaten.
Yeah. There's nobody screaming. There's no people like flailing out of the window.
Oh, no. It's not. Yeah.
It's like basically you're led to believe there's nobody on it. So in my mind,
I think it was pretty clear that no one was on it. So the soldiers were on it. So the soldiers.
That's how they got there.
Oh, you might have changed my rant then. Okay, so the soldier.
It's a Trojan horse.
Okay, so originally in the movie they talk about the Zeppelin traveling across the country.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop anywhere.
You're saying all along this was a German Zeppelin.
Yes.
A Nazi Zeppelin. Traveling across the country to get to Hollywood. Had a platoon of troops in it.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense. That's less of a rant than for me.
Okay.
That might not even be a rant anymore. But they still put the big swastika on
They
it.
did.
That's not very covert anymore.
It's not.
That's interesting that I completely missed that. But it makes sense.
I've seen the movie more times
with what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not something that dawned on me just now. So
okay.
I think it's something that you could miss.
Then
or maybe it's not even right into the show.
If that's true,
Sketch
if they came on the Zeppelin and they've been traveling across the country on the Zeppelin, then for a geeking out first, I retract my rant.
Whoa.
I retract that rant. That is not a rant. If anything, it turns into a much smaller rant of it wasn't clear. But maybe it was clear and I just missed it. I could have been oblivious.
I could be 100% wrong with that.
It's very likely that you are 100% wrong.
It's entirely possible.
On a variety of things. However, on this thing, I would...
You're gonna say that is the case?
I think you're more likely to be right than me. You grew up on this movie and you love this movie.
Hey, I'll take it.
So I'm going to retract that rant. I have another rant.
Long-time listeners, it's geeking out first.
I'm still not changing my score because my score is still based on my...
I think that's a fantastic score for this movie.
My feel. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a great movie. I
cannot separate my nostalgia from this movie.
Right. And I don't think this is a podcast that you have to.
Thank you.
I don't think... I mean, we did Sequest recently and we were geeking out and we probably gave it a higher score than probably we should have.
Sure. Do you want to go into your second rant then? Before I give my first, since you're retracting your rant.
How many rants do you have?
I have 2 rants.
Then you do one, because I only have one other.
This is my big rant. The movie is a little rapey.
Oh, that's my rant.
That's your rant?
Another rant.
It's more so than I remember watching it with you.
You didn't pick up on that as a first grader?
When I did not get this when I saw it in theaters. I've watched this movie hundreds of times, and it never really dawned on me. And it dawned on me last night when I was watching it. And just the treatment of women in general, it does not have a particularly high regard for the treatment of women. And I think that's probably because of the era where it's taking place in. And
I almost feel like that was
the Commander Cody. I think it was on purpose too. But it tries to make Jenny not the damsel in distress, and I don't think it succeeds. She has some moments there, but ultimately she is the swooning damsel.
Yeah, she still is, but she's not 100% passive.
She's not. I mean, she's a fighter. She's feisty. She's independent. She's strong. But in the end, she's the damsel that needs to be rescued.
Yeah.
And also like the boarding house where all of the bunnies, the side bunnies kind of live.
That was a boarding house?
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was like a sorority or something.
No, it was like a boarding house for women.
Okay.
Which existed at the time. I mean, it's very historical, but just the way they treated it. Cliff refers to the woman that runs it as the warden.
Well, she was a real bitch.
She wasn't. She wasn't.
She was.
She doesn't think Cliff's a respectable guy. But
he is.
He turns out to be. The way he portrays himself.
She didn't give Cliff... she didn't give Cliff
I do not allow. Yeah, she didn't. And Cliff doesn't hold himself in high regards. Like I don't allow gentlemen in after 6:30.
I like this line.
I'm no gentleman.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm not a gentleman.
The steam train's going
by. It's the steam train going by in the Hollywood Hills.
That fits really well.
I know, right?
It's
1938. Yeah. What are you pointing that up for? Just the women are kind of throwing themselves at actors and flyers and motorcycle jockeys and mobsters. And
were women throwing themselves at the mobsters?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
There's like the mermaid in the tank in Eddie's office in the club.
Yeah.
The kind of
swoony... Oh, I forgot about that.
So it's...
See, you know what's weird about that? So the head mobster.
Yes, Eddie Valentine. Who I wind up loving in the end.
Oh yeah, he's great. And not just like as an actor, like he's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He has an office in the club that we are currently residing in.
Yes.
Shades and I are in the big clamshell.
Like what's left of the big clamshell.
But it is I kind of feel like the birth of Venus.
Okay.
It's probably because I'm nude.
Probably.
But that's how we record most of our podcasts. Anyway.
Either in onesies or in the buff.
Yeah. But so he has tank in his office.
I'm wearing a very fashionable wool swimsuit.
Yeah, you look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what is that? A bowler? Is that a bowler
hat? Yes, it is.
It's dashing.
And a monocle.
Yeah, I see the monocle. Yeah, I would stop describing yourself, or I'm going to be more embarrassed than I'm doing.
Calm down.
So he has this tank in his office, and inside the tank is a woman,
yes,
scantily clad
in a mermaid tail.
I didn't see the mermaid tail. Here's the difference between watching this now and watching it when you're a first grader.
Sure.
Now I'm so cynical and so untrusting of bad guys.
Sure.
That I was like, is he straight up drowning a girl in his office?
No.
Like my first reaction wasn't, oh, he's got a mermaid. Hey, he's getting his rocks off. And my first was like, oh my God, this guy's
nobody's reacting
with cement shoes and just watching a girl die.
He is evil.
And I'm not making that up. Like that was my reaction.
That was your first thought.
And I guess that just goes to show you what like contemporary movies kind of deposit into my mind. But back to the rape. I mean, let's get back to the rape.
Yeah. So Neville Sinclair, straight up. Do you want to say it?
Sure.
And I'll take the closet.
Neville Sinclair, you can have the closet.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go right up to the closet, and then you can come out of the closet.
Sure.
And it'll be a great segment. Neville Sinclair, he knows that Jenny is dating Cliff. I mean, he doesn't know who Cliff is. Right. All he knows is that Jenny is dating the guy who has this rocket that he's trying to get.
The rocket. I love the way he says that, by the way.
And Jenny is
he's using her to get
set.
to the rocket.
Yes.
She's using him to get a part in the play.
Yeah, everyone's using everybody in this scene. But he takes her out on a nice date
to the South Seas Club where we now reside.
And it wouldn't be destroyed if it weren't for that date.
Know.
And he's definitely seducing her to get the information out of her that she wants. She's playing along because she wants bigger roles in Hollywood. And then when things start to go south, Neville just straight up chloroforms her.
Out of nowhere.
There was no
lead up to that.
No.
He takes out a cloth.
Oh, and keep in mind, at this point,
with chloroform.
We don't know he's a Nazi.
Right.
No. We just think he's an actor.
A Hollywood actor.
Who wants a rocket.
Sleazy Hollywood actor.
And he flat chloroforms
out of nowhere, pulls out a cloth
chloroform rag. She
chloroform.
Wakes up in his bed.
Yes.
Which, by the way,
I don't think it's his bed.
I think it's house.
Yes, it's in his house, but I think it's a room.
It's a rape room?
I think it's a room specifically designed, equipped with smelling salts.
Yeah, he had smelling salts.
For women that he brings back to his home that he has chloroformed.
I mean, he is a
There are white silk sheets on the bed.
He is a professional woman abductor.
Yes. And then opens a closet.
Come out of the closet. Let's do this.
He's like, oh, Jenny, yes, you're so beautiful. He goes to his closet and opens this closet. And I missed this as a kid. I missed it as an adult. The lights went off. The alarm sounded. He opens this large closet, like the length of a wall that is filled with women's clothing.
Yeah, he's a single
male actor. And whatever, it's 21st century.
And not casual wear.
Not casual, like women's nightgowns and slips, and like lingerie, and pulls one out that he thinks will fit her. which I am led to believe belonged to other women that he has chloroformed and brought back to his rape room.
This is not his first time doing
this. This is not the first time he's done this.
This is in his wheelhouse.
Oh my goodness. And
going into the date with Jenny, he 100% knew if this doesn't go the way I want it to.
I've got chloroform in my pocket.
I'm going to abduct her.
I am going to abduct this woman.
Yeah.
That is so evil.
Jenny, to her discredit, to Jenny's discredit,
okay,
she wakes up.
Yep.
She kind of goes along with it.
Well, she wakes up.
Yeah.
The door's locked. She can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And she sees him coming out of a secret passage. She goes along with it to like lure him into it. She plays along, like, oh, do you want me to put this on?
Yeah.
He's like desperately.
Yeah, and then she springs her trap.
Then she springs her trap.
Okay,
I don't think she went.
I guess I wanted her to fight right away and get out of there, but I guess she played along long enough to.
I don't think there's any circumstance. He's already chloroformed her.
Sinclair's house, by the way, has like an Aztec motif.
It's actually a very famous house designed by Edward. That's not the wrong. I was going to say Edward James Olmos because we were talking about Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Olmsted.
Okay.
The famous American architect.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a very famous house in LA.
I just kept feeling like I was in an Aztec tomb whenever we were in
Nathan
that house.
Fillion lives in it now. I saw an interview with him recently.
Fits for Nathan Fillion.
I know, right? I feel like
we need to do some Nathan Fillion properties.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house. It's like it does.
No, it's really nice. I just kept feeling like
Aztec stone.
Yeah, that we were in some sort
she
of
sees him coming out of the secret passage. She plays along with that. And if we thought Neville Sinclair was like, oh, what an evil, unredeemable guy, she goes into the secret passageway, which I love. The book that you pull is The Conquests of Casanova.
I did notice that. Yes.
What a skis. Opens up the door and it's his secret Nazi communication room.
Yeah. She turns on the radio and it just speaks
like,
German.
Oh my God. Not only is he an awful womanizing rapist, on top of it all, he's a Nazi.
Okay. I'm just making this connection because when she turned on the radio and it was German, I'm like, he has a radio that reaches from Hollywood to Germany. No, he's talking to the Zeppelin. He's talking to the Zeppelin. All right. It's all coming together for me. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I really don't have another rant of any weight other than it was pretty rapey.
It was very rapey. It was uncomfortably rapey. When he opened that closet,
was very light for it to turn to rape.
Finally dawned on me that he has abducted dozens of women. I was like, oh,
you didn't need the rapiness to get that he was a sleazy slimeball.
Right.
We got that.
Yeah.
That was established.
It was gratuitous.
You could have skipped rape and gone right to Nazi. And
I hope we haven't ruined this movie for you with all of the rapiness.
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
People, I mean, look at Game of Thrones. That's very popular and that's very rapey.
And I would say it's much worse than...
Oh, you think Game of Thrones?
Much worse.
Is more rapey than a Disney movie from 1991?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm just saying, for a Disney movie for 1991... You're really putting
yourself out there with that one.
Hey, it's... I have strong and
I'm
opinions.
saying no, it's not rapey.
For a 1991 Disney movie that's rated PG.
Yeah. That was going to be one of my big questions. What this is rated?
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's rated PG.
Okay.
Because I'm surprised they went there.
It's a little rapey for PG.
Yeah.
We had a straight up oogling.
Either. I think oogling. I say oogling.
Of Jenny's breasts.
Yeah.
In the gown.
Yep.
I mean, the guy looked her up and down.
And the camera pans.
But the camera pans and just
in his,
it's like, whoa, okay, we're just doing that in this Disney movie. What else?
But that goes along with like the 1930s pulp aspect that they're trying to capture.
Two guys were straight up folded in half.
Yeah.
They were killed
Lothar
in a lawn chair-esque way. They were folded.
Neville Sinclair's henchman, Lothar, he's like that PV refers to as the large King Kong gentleman.
Yeah.
Is like this awful scarred face, which is just wonderful prosthetic makeup provided by ILM.
Yeah.
And he's just monstrous and freakishly strong and straight up folds one of Eddie's henchmen in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bigelow.
Yeah, and Bigelow.
Who owns the airfield.
And then the mobsters.
Which happens off screen, but I still felt like the when it happened.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, when they find what's his name, Bigelow.
Yeah.
When they find him,
his foot's
up by his head. Yeah. That's a rough way to go.
It is.
And the mobsters were going to burn off Peabody's face.
Yeah. They were. Oof.
I mean, there were some choices in this movie that really made me go,
strong.
What is this rated?
Yeah.
Is this a kid's movie or not? But maybe, you know, kids were probably tougher back in 91.
I think so. Yeah. We still played dodgeball then.
That's unheard of now. That's vanilla. That brings me to one last rant that I forgot it was a rant, but it's a very minor rant.
Okay.
I liked the henchman.
Yep.
The giant guy.
Awesome.
His mask was wonderful.
Yep.
I mean,
it doesn't look like a mask.
No,
it's difficult for him to talk through.
The first scene or two that I saw him in, I thought this is not a mask,
right?
Or prosthetics. I thought this is just they hired a real grizzled looking, guy. When we say like a King Kong monster, he's just a big dude.
Yeah,
and his face is a little exaggerated.
His face is haunting,
but it's not grotesque. It's not.
It's kind of grotesque.
No, but in that I mean, like, it's not like
he's not covered in boils or have fangs.
Yeah, it's not unbelievable. Yeah. It's just like you could imagine someone just didn't age well.
That actor is actually 7 feet tall.
Okay, he's huge.
He is. His name is
Andre the Giant.
No, his name is.
He's really huge. But
his nickname is Tiny. Tiny Ron Taylor plays
Tiny Ron Taylor.
And he was an actual NBA basketball player.
He is
becoming an actor.
Okay, because I was going to say he's very athletic. Like he.
Oh yeah, he moves around.
He moves around. My only rant with it is the mask was so good, but he obviously couldn't talk in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they added what is that ADR when they had audio on top.
Yes.
I wish they just had him be silent.
Yeah,
like a silent henchman, and didn't add a voice to him because it certainly it made him less scary.
Mm-hmm.
He was, even as at my age now, he was still an intimidating guy. I can only imagine a child seeing, that movie and being like,
he terrified me when I saw this in theaters. And we watched it on Blu-ray. It's much clearer.
Yeah.
My VHS is much grainier, and you can't tell as much of the difficulty with talking because it's not as bright in those scenes.
Yeah. So technology in this instance
did not help.
Yep. So I guess a little tiny rant there is just that I wish he had stayed silent. He would have been a great just silent figure in this world.
I agree. Strong agree.
That's it for my rants.
My last rant. The mechanics of flight are very inconsistent. I guess that has to do with whenever we see the Rocketeer flying, he's horizontal, and it's a maquette that's being posed and filmed.
I'm still impressed by that.
Yep. And everybody else, when he's in the South Seas Club, he's on a wire and he's flying very slowly and flying upright.
I mean, he was interacting with people at that point.
And that doesn't hold up as well watching it at this age as opposed to 1991.
I could see that. I mean, it didn't bother me that much, but this is where nostalgia is going to work against you, because as a kid, I'm sure you saw that and was so like blown away, and believable.
Yep.
And now you're like, ugh.
And what are the rules for what catches fire and what does not catch fire?
Yeah, because
ridiculous.
we started this movie. And it
the
was
first time he takes off. Yeah, that was your question.
No, it was on the DVD menu screen. They showed him, and I said, "I already have a big question."
Yes,
and you said, "No, it's alcohol. It doesn't burn as fast, right?" And I'm like,
"It doesn't burn as hot."
Yeah, or burn as hot. And I'm like, "Yeah," because it was going to be how does his pants not catch on fire? And so, okay, I went along with that,
and
because
they do say it
that
burns ethanol.
Yeah, and that it's much cooler. That being
it's not that cool, but cooler.
But they say, "Oh, the casing is cool to the touch."
Right.
That being said, other things ignite.
Everything in the South Seas Club ignites.
As we can attest to.
There's nothing left
right now.
Long-time listeners.
When is the fire department going to get here?
I think it's just a wash at this point. We should probably not be here right now.
If anything, we should be helping put out some fires.
Nah, they're fine.
Okay.
We have all this water around us in the clamshell. We'll be fine.
I love this clamshell. I hope
fantastic.
When we pack up Goko, we can take
this clamshell with us. Sure.
Can we just start collecting things from the various places?
We've got the space.
All right, perfect.
Taking it with us. Souvenir.
Yeah, it was not consistent what burns and what doesn't burn.
And it's in the same realm. I thought about this morning and made this note. It's in the same realm of like, what are the rules here? Cap shield and Bucky's arm.
Yeah.
What are the rules? Because everything in the South Seas Club ignites. He takes off from the Bulldog Cafe, no problems.
Nope.
The first time we see the rocket fly is in an enclosed space in an airplane hangar. It crashes into a chair. Nothing ignites.
He lands on
he takes off in the laundry chute. Nothing ignites in a very confined state. He should not have survived that. And
he lands on the Zeppelin.
He lands on the Zeppelin. Why did the Zeppelin not immediately explode? I mean, it's an envelope that is able to contain the helium, but the helium is still there.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, if you're saying it doesn't explode, it will explode.
Oh, it explodes. And also with that, I don't think helium explodes in sequence when the Zeppelin does go.
I thought maybe there were different segments. Yeah, different chambers.
I feel like it would have just
almost gone. Like the Titanic.
I don't think you should have been able to run on it should have started collapsing.
Sure.
I don't think you should have been able to run on top of it as they do.
You can rant as much about this movie as you want. I didn't think you'd have any rants about this movie.
It doesn't hold up quite as well. So the mechanics of what catches fire, what doesn't catch fire, and it's the most iconic scene in the movie when he takes off with the American flag in the background.
Yeah.
To go and fight the Nazis at the end.
They probably didn't want to have the flag on fire.
That flag should have, the rocket burn.
Yeah.
Off of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
absolutely should have set the flag on fire. And it makes me ask the question, was the flag even there or was it CGI'd in?
Oh, I bet it was there.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
I think it was
we'll disagree on this. I think it was there.
Let's go to raves.
Yeah, let's go to raves.
Can I just start my first rave?
You have raves about this movie?
I have so many raves about this movie.
I never knew. Okay.
Just the stylization and look of the film.
That's one of my raves.
Not just the Art Deco treatments, but the way it looks on screen. There's something about movies that were shot in this era that feel like a movie to me. And I know the effects don't hold up in the same way that they do now, but I prefer the look of a green screen. I prefer the look of a scaled model, in fact, and stop motion.
I feel like you're defending it, but I thought the effects were fine.
I love it. I'm not defending
91
it at
movie.
All. And Batman Begins did this in the final climax when the train derails and crashes into the parking garage. Yeah. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Batman Begins, I don't know what you're waiting for. Destroys that the final fight sequence between him and Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
That was all done scale model with stop motion or slow motion practically.
We talked about this a little. I think when we talked about Spider-Man, we talked about practical effects.
Practical effects will always look better. And even with the poor green screening, the sharpness and the blurriness of putting him into the scene afterwards, I just love the way this looks.
Yeah.
And
I'm not arguing you on that.
There's got to be a way to marry the computer effects and the practical effects of just 20-year-old technology.
No, I think the issue, though, I think the issue right now is that digital effects are just so much cheaper than practical effects.
I have to disagree. This movie, I don't know what the inflation rate was, but the budget for the movie was $30 million.
Oh, in 91.
And they had over a $10 million overage.
I'm just talking about now. Nowadays, I think you can do digital effects so much more.
I don't know what the conversion rate is. So 1991, I'm going to look it up. Why don't you talk about your rave here while I do that?
But I agree with you. I think the practical effects, the look of the movie. I don't know if you ever saw it. I used to watch a show back in the day called, I think it was called Movie Magic. You ever heard of that show?
I have not. I
think it was on Discovery. It was on some educational show. And what they did was they broke down and showed you how they did the practical effects to some of the great movie scenes of the time, and how they, filmed train derailments and exploding gas stations and everything, and all the work that went into them. And I miss that, because those things looked great, and they looked real because they were real, and the movie magic was not, how do we make this look believable? It was basically, it is believable. The movie magic is, how do we avoid showing how we did it?
Right.
And that's why you go to a magic show. So you don't see how they did it. That's the magic. And this movie did a great job with the explosions. I mean, even the plane at the very, very beginning, how it runs into the gas, the gas tanker. Or no, the plane doesn't run into the gas tanker. The car does. I mean, everything felt genuine. And I appreciated that for a movie with a flying man.
Right.
In a rocket pack. This felt genuine. And it matched really nicely to the golden age of movies that they were depicting. Because it felt to me like they're paying homage to the golden age of cinema by making a movie that was so earnest and so genuine.
100% agree.
Okay.
Agree. The inflation rate, $40 million in, not 1914. No, that's why that number was so big.
Oh, yeah.
I just switched that. Do you want to give your second rave while I finish this?
I mean, other than the look of the movie, I mean, it was we've kind of already talked about it, that it was just a nice, small, self-contained movie. The end fight scene was, I mean, it even feels funny for me saying end fight scene, because it's not like our contemporary end fight scenes with a big, flashy, over the top.
That's one of my raves. The climactic or anticlimactic sequence in which Neville Sinclair is defeated.
Yeah, he's defeated by his own
avarice and greed.
Yeah, I mean, Cliff does kind of defeat him, because it was a nice callback to the bubble gum.
Yeah.
I mean, they did the gum so much that you knew this gum's going to come back
somehow
at something. And I liked that.
So at some point, the rocket pack picks up a bullet hole, and they don't have time to fix it. So PB takes a piece of Beeman's gum that Cliff chews, and Beeman's was the brand that
Howard Hughes gives him at the end too.
Yes, but all pilots in that age chewed Beeman's.
Oh,
it's just the thing.
How did you know that?
I looked it up years ago.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I get on a plane, I go to Cracker Barrel and buy a pack of Beeman's gum, because that's the only place you can get it now.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. They use a piece of gum to patch the hole so the fuel doesn't leak out. And before Cliff gives him the rocket to save Jenny, he
trades the rocket for Jenny.
Slides the gum over just a little bit, that the fuel starts leaking out.
Yep. And so
when Sinclair
rockets away,
the fuel leaks out, and the afterburners ignites the fuel trail right into the fuel reserves.
And he bursts into flames and plummets
into the second half of the Hollywood sign. So Hollywood sign was part of a housing development that used to say Hollywood Land.
Mm-hmm.
And
in real life,
Hollywood was Hollywood Land, which was a housing development in LA, and it still is.
Mm-hmm.
But now has become synonymous with film studios.
Right.
And they, at some point in rebuilding the sign, it's not the original sign that's there. They've rebuilt it a number of times over the years. They just took down the part that said land and left Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great little faux explanation as
Sinclair
to why the land
crashes
isn't
into
there.
land and
it's just Hollywood from now on.
And is that what happened in real life? It was destroyed by a flaming Nazi?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Okay.
$40 million in 1991 today would be a $72.1 million budget.
Okay.
That's a very expensive movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what the budget for Civil War was.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I could look that up, but I feel like it's comparable.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a stylistic thing of why we've moved away from practical effects.
Yeah. I still think you can pay your actors more if you...
Oh, I'm sure.
If you
I'm
save
sure
money
you can spend
on
more
effects.
on actors.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a whole different conversation.
I mean, those are my main raves. And it really just boils down to how I feel about the movie. How the movie feels to me. It was a fun... I would recommend it to really anybody. It was...
Thank you. It's a great movie.
A fun...
It's great to hear you say that.
Light. I mean, it wasn't... There was suspense.
Mm-hmm.
And there were
some nail-biting moments.
Absolutely. But it wasn't...
moments on the edge of your seat.
It wasn't apocalyptic.
No.
You
know, I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
It's the scale of the movie is small.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that.
Sure.
I have two other raves.
Sure.
I think this is one of your rants and you didn't talk about it.
The cartoon?
I love the cartoon in the middle of the movie in which the Nazis are revealed. They've already been revealed. We find out that Neville Sinclair is a Nazi. And then Cliff is finally captured by the FBI and brought to Howard Hughes, and they watch this film reel. Watch, kid, took a man's life to smuggle this out of Germany. And they watch it, and it's this Fleischer-esque. Fleischer Studios was a very famous film corporation. They did a lot of the Superman serial cartoon reels. You're familiar with it, even if you don't think you are. You've probably seen a Fleischer cartoon. Longtime listeners will know the Fleischer brothers. And it's this very stylized film in which, Nazi propaganda, they want the jetpack because they want to give every German soldier a jetpack. And it just shows from Germany with a swastika logo, these arrows just protruding out all over the world.
Yeah.
And it really, without devoting a lot of screen time
nope.
to Nazis or World War II, sets the gravity of what's at stake with this rocket. And if Cliff does give the rocket to the Nazis, what's going to happen? Because he is unwilling to turn it over.
It was short, but it was all the explanation we needed.
It was. And again, we spend so much screen time in modern movies with setting exposition. You don't need it. Like, if you take your time and work something into the script like this, and it fits. It's a Fleischer-esque cartoon. It's not incredibly well produced. Maybe you'll disagree with me with that.
Yeah, I thought it was a little too polished. I mean, it reminded me a little bit too much of the 90s Disney cartoons.
Which is when this was created.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Excuse me.
I guess I wanted it to be a little lower production quality. But the reason I didn't mention that as one of my rants is because now I just feel like I'm just
nitpicking.
Okay. It didn't ruin anything for me. I would, you know what? You might disagree with me on this. I would not put it on par with raping a woman. I'm sorry. Raping multiple women and stealing their clothes.
Man.
Yeah. The cartoon did not offend me as much as the serial rapist.
Yeah. My last rave is just the first time you see the helmet and him in the outfit.
Peabody makes the helmet.
Peavy, like, how do I look? Like a hood ornament.
Yeah.
Go get him. Like, the whole setup.
Why did he say that? He was the one that made it.
He did, but it does is reminiscent of many of the hood ornament designs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just love everything about this movie.
Back when cars and planes and everything was a real work of art.
Yeah. And this movie feels like a work of art. And you can tell the filmmakers and the director loved the property that they were working on and treated it well.
Yeah, look, it felt like a labor of love.
Shall we go on?
I'd be very surprised to hear that anyone who worked on this had a bad experience.
I would also be surprised to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, you have big questions?
Big questions.
Do you have any big questions?
I have a big question here.
Oh, okay.
When the FBI captures Peavy after Cliff takes off from the upper room of the Bulldog Cafe.
Yes.
This is after they've been involved with the FBI in a shootout where multiple agents are killed.
They 100% shouldn't have survived that shootout, by the way.
They 100% should not have survived that shootout.
No,
they did.
I mean, that house was Swiss cheese.
Yeah, they remark later, when they talk about their house, Peavy quips, we don't live in a house, we live in a gazebo.
Yeah, I forgot about that line. Yeah,
There's
that was a great line.
To
He was a great character.
He was.
I loved him.
Alan Arkin's a great actor.
When he read in the paper that Sinclair had died by...
Oh, it's too bad. It was a nice car.
Yeah, that was great.
Because the explanation they give is that Neville Sinclair was killed in his touring car. A touring car, we would call that a convertible coupe today. When flaming debris from the Hollywood sign fell on him. Yep. Oh, it's a shame. It was a nice car.
It was a nice car, yeah.
Anyway, so when the FBI...
That would be my dad. That's exactly what my dad would say.
That would be your dad. Yeah. Oh, man. Your dad even kind of looks like Peavy.
Sketch Senior. He does kind of look like him, yeah.
That would be a great cosplay for the two of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your big question.
Big question, right. Thank you. After that, this takes place after the shootout. The FBI shows up to capture them and get the rocket. Why do they not just shoot Peavy on sight? Why do they capture him? They have been, to their knowledge... Cliff and Peavy were shooting at them from the house. They've had no interaction or confirmation as to the otherwise. Multiple FBI agents are killed in that exchange. Why do they not just shoot Peavy?
We should say that multiple FBI agents are killed in that exchange because the big monster man is there, and he's firing back at the FBI.
Colt 45s,
but they don't know that.
Yeah,
they're there to get Cliff. And you keep calling him PV?
Peavy. That's his nickname.
How did they get to their house? How did the FBI know to go there?
The FBI shows up at the airfield and finds Bigelow's body folded in half and find the second page with the imprint of their address that Lothar made him write. Right. Before he killed him.
Yep, I got that. Okay, so...
they don't know anything when they show up to the house. Yeah. They just know who they are. You know, they're the FBI. They've done some research. Who lives there? Mm-hmm. And bullets just start flying at them.
Do you think that's a question for you of why they didn't shoot first and ask questions later, just because of what we're used to now in movies? Come out guns a-blazing?
I think if agents have been, particularly in the 1930s, the FBI does not hold back with shooting at people in this movie. Maybe it is the world we live in now, but in the world of the Rocketeer, they're shooting at everybody, and they've got Tommy guns galore.
Well, in
the final fight sequence,
the only explanation I can give you, other than the fact that this is a movie aimed at children, and you probably wouldn't want the FBI just to come in straight up murder the mentor figure of your main character, is that maybe they purely captured him because they needed his accomplice as well. That's the only.
They would have seen Cliff take off.
That's the only thing I can say in terms of why they didn't just kill people.
Sure, I think that's fair.
And then we were lucky that they brought him to Howard Hughes and not to jail.
Yeah.
And that Howard Hughes believed everything.
Yeah.
And
Howard Hughes, great guy in this movie.
Didn't see that scene.
We didn't.
It was just explained to us.
When they capture Cliff, they bring him in, and Peavy and Howard are having this they're geeking out over the designs. Howard's geeking out over the helmet that Peavy makes and the design, putting a rudder on it is says genius.
Yeah.
And Peavy's like geeking out over the double wall chamber to keep it cool when it's running. And
I was thinking about that rudder.
Yeah.
That is genius to help him move from left to right. How does he move up and down?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think his feet.
I guess that's one of my big questions.
His feet and hands, in the same way that Iron Man maybe his feet and hands.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
I don't think that would actually work.
The flying. This is not a rant. This is not a rave. This is not a big question. This is just
a comment.
Just a comment.
Sure.
To me, the flying was terrifying.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
As a child, did you like dream of flight? Dream that you could fly? I mean, as a kid, I would dream about that all the time. That I could just
you never see
fly.
Superman like accidentally turn off. He can't. The Superman never accidentally falls out of the sky.
No,
that's a great moment where he's trying to show off.
Yeah.
And flies by the plane and salutes them.
And
the throttles on his hand.
Hits his helmet.
He hits his helmet and he falls out of the sky.
I mean, even more than the flying. I mean, the falling. The flying itself was so.
If you've ever ridden a motorcycle and felt the wind coming at you, I can only imagine what the equivalent of be with no.
I mean, it was
nothing in front of you.
It was so
being propelled.
It was
thousands of feet in the air.
With a chaotic.
Yeah,
it's
not smooth. It's not clean.
No, and it was.
It's not.
I never looked at him flying and thought, and I never felt jealous.
Yeah,
I was never like, oh, I wish I had that rocket pack and I could fly. And I feel like as a child, I would still feel it because it was terrifying the way he did it.
Sure.
And the lack of control he had.
Bill Campbell, who plays Cliff Secord, one of the reasons they did the scale model is because initially they wanted to suspend him or an actor from a helicopter and for the flying.
Yeah.
And he's terrified of flying.
Yeah.
And they shot the South Seas Club scene first, and just being on the wire work
it's too much
was too much for him. Yeah. And he was like, there's no way you're strapping me to a harness and pulling me with a helicopter.
That's funny that he's terrified of flying and he plays
the Rocketeer.
Not even the Rocketeer, but just the pilot.
In
the movie. Well, wait, what about those scenes though, the beginning of the movie where they show him in the cockpit of the plane? Was that could have been blue screen? That looked way too good.
Movie magic. I'm sure he was in some kind of like just a fuselage that was pulled in real tight on him.
Yeah, I agree. But I thought it was actually like in the back of a plane with like its cargo door open, so they would still get the background, the shot.
I don't know.
Just because it looked so believable.
I would love to find a making of featurette.
Yeah.
And look at that. Big question from you. That was my big question. You answered it beautifully.
One of my big questions was what was it rated, and you already told me what it was rated,
PG.
Which I'm still surprised at.
Me too.
It wasn't gratuitous violence, but
I don't know that
PG-13
was a rating yet.
Oh, okay. It was definitely not an
PG-13 is a relatively new rating.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because there was a lot of sexualization and a lot of violence.
Yeah,
but not R-rated violence and not R-rated sexualization. So I guess
it's 20 years old at this point.
I guess this movie demonstrates why they made PG-13.
Yes, I'm sure.
As an additional.
If it didn't exist yet, this was probably one of the reasons why it came into being.
Yeah. I mean, my other question that I had during the movie that I wrote down. You know what's funny about me? We started this movie and I said to you, I'm not going to write any notes. I'm just going to enjoy the movie. And then I think as soon as it got rapey, I went to go get my notepad. I was like, okay, I can't forget about these rapey scenes. Yeah, look, one of my notes just says in all caps, date rape.
Yep, that happened.
Yeah, I have a lot of rape scene themed questions here, but we've already covered that really well. I guess the only other question is why Jenny was so okay with going out with Sinclair.
In the setup of the movie, I think it was make Cliff jealous because he didn't tell her about the crash.
Yeah. I got that.
And they're kind of about to break up, maybe.
Yeah, and it was also probably she was certainly starstruck.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I think
and also... you know how everyone has... Not everyone, but it's a trope that people have like a list of like the celebrity you can sleep with.
Yep.
It was probably like her exception. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She was bubbling about him before she went on a date with him.
She was.
But I also think it was for her career.
It was for her career. He apologizes for, at least in her mind, for getting her kicked off the set.
Yep.
And let me make it up to you. Like, let me take you to dinner at the South Seas Club.
He lays it on so
thick. He does, and it's obviously a ruse.
Yeah.
But he gets her a reading for a part, and
he lays it on uncomfortably thick.
I think she maybe feels a little obligated to go to get that reading for the Saxon Queen and the Laughing Bandit.
Yeah.
Film that they're working on.
If it weren't for the fact that he straight up legitimately abducts her with like rapey intentions,
there's no way around it.
If they had skipped that, but they still had him being so over the top and everything, I still would have said to you, this feels a little too
much
sexual predator.
Sure.
To me. Yeah, but even with all that, she makes sure she still wears the bracelet that Cliff gave her and explains it to him about her boyfriend.
Yep. I'm with you.
But that's a nitpicky big question.
Here's a big question.
I guess I just wasn't a big fan of Jenny.
That's fair.
I much preferred Karen.
After Cliff has his interaction with Hughes, the G-Men, he sees the film of what's going to happen if he gives the rocket to them. They're going to arrest him. He punches the FBI agent for the second time.
Rightfully so. The
guy totally deserved it. But then he bursts through a set of French doors, out onto a gangplank, grabs onto a scaled model of the Spruce Goose, runs to the edge of it, jumps off, and the Spruce Goose glides with him attached to it.
Yeah.
Out the hangar door.
He lets go.
And it keeps going.
Yeah. Is your question, where did it end? Where did it let
My question, what are the how did that model glide? A, with Cliff hanging on to it.
Yeah.
B, is that, longtime listeners, figure this out. Somebody out there, calculate the necessary thrust for this scale model to like get the appropriate amount of
My brother's the guy to figure this one out. Schmahoog, if you're listening to this episode.
Continued to fly out the door. And how long did it continue for based on for then Howard Hughes to say, the damn thing will. No, he doesn't. He says the son of a bitch will fly.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, they were fine
PG
with swearing.
movie. Yeah.
I'm going to back it up even more than that. How did Cliff know that thing was going to move on its track?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, I would have loved if he jumped and was just suspended on it. It was
I didn't think that out very well.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and that was what I would describe as a whimsical moment. That was a whimsical moment of the movie.
It's very far. It really stretches your suspense of disbelief in a movie where there's already a guy flying around in a rocket pack
fighting Nazis
in
Hollywood.
It's like, guys, really? Come on.
Yeah.
What was that model made out of?
You know what I did love though? How the not the Nazis, how the FBI and the mobsters work together to kill all the Nazis.
There's this brilliant moment where Eddie Valentine and Walensky is kind of like the quirky FBI agent.
Yeah.
They're both firing their Tommy guns and they're killing Nazis, and they stop. They look over at each other and smile, and they go back to firing their Tommy guns.
Because killing Nazis brings us all together.
Nothing brings us together like killing Nazis.
That's the premise of every Captain America movie that's been
really
out so
is.
far. Yep.
Sketch.
Yeah.
You enjoyed this movie?
I did.
Do you have any other big questions?
I'm glad we did it. If it's true, if they do come out with a sequel, I will absolutely go with you to the sequel.
So according to Cineblend, the setup of the sequel takes place in 1942.
Mm-hmm.
The original Rocketeer is missing. So I guess we're led to believe that PV rebuilds the rocket pack from the blueprints that Jenny saved for him.
I feel like they set that up.
Yeah. The original Rocketeer it's wartime, which coincides with one of the most recent Rocketeer runs, the Rocketeer at War.
Mm-hmm.
And he vanishes in World War II, and 2 new Rocketeers are commissioned. One's African-American female mechanic, and one is like your typical star-spangled fighter ace,
mm-hmm.
and they fly into enemy lines to try and find him. And that's the premise, and it has a release date of 2018. No one's attached to it yet. So we'll see what happens.
You think it'll still be the kids movie as much as this was a kids movie?
I think it'll probably be more of a stylized in the vein of like the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy universe.
Okay.
That seems to be where Disney is now.
Would you call this a kids movie?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think it is. I think it's a movie that kids can watch.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A lot of the weightier stuff goes over your head.
Yeah, I feel like this is a movie that kind of exists beyond classification.
Yeah.
Of this is a kids movie.
This is children can watch this movie, but they're not going to get a lot of the references, and adults will be entertained.
Oh yeah, kids could watch this. You don't need to know the references to be entertained.
It's not so gratuitous or violent. It's nothing that they haven't seen on television.
Oh, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Listen how old I sound.
Anybody can watch this.
Kids these days.
Get off my lawn.
I wish I had a lawn. Yeah. No, I'm happy I saw it. Longtime listeners, if you haven't seen The Rocketeer, it's a really nice piece of early 90s cinema that doesn't feel dated.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're watching something primitive.
No.
It's a really solid, well-made movie. It's fun. Has some nice geeking out moments.
Absolutely.
And heck, if they are going to do a sequel, you'll definitely want to see this first. There. Yeah.
And yes, and you can find this. You can find it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, like paid to rent.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You can also
stuff.
find it on YouTube with a poor video quality or sped up sound. But it's also Amazon Prime. You can watch it streaming, and it was. I'm not sure if it is still on Netflix.
You are really coming after Netflix lately.
It was on Netflix recently. I don't know if it's still there.
Well, Netflix has. I think they currently have quite a deal with Disney. A lot of Disney stuff is on Netflix, so there's a good chance that this is on Netflix.
Yeah. So check it out, give it a watch, and should we start trying to get this clamshell?
Yeah, help me wrestle this clamshell shut,
on it.
and I'm going to throw some clothes on before we leave the.
Probably a good idea.
Club. And longtime listeners, thanks for joining us again on our geek out of one of Shades'
favorite movies.
I mean, I don't think
I was so excited when Sketch said yes to doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't properly express in audio how excited Shades was to do Rocketeer. I hope you enjoyed coming on this journey with us. If you have anything you would like us to geek out over,
please write in either through email, gowithshadesandsketch@gmail.com.
You can use our Facebook page, which is just Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch.
Or, you can always also include that in a rating and review on iTunes. We would appreciate that immensely. It really does make the difference in building the profile of a show.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrestle this clamshell.
Let's close this clamshell and let's take Goko on our next adventure. I guess see you guys next time.
See you next time.